Look closely at the final scoreline. Look at the numbers flashing on your screen right now. 6-4, 6-3. If you just glance at those numbers, you might think you completely understand what happened in Linz today. You might think it was a standard, routine victory on the WTA Tour. You might think Eala simply overpowered Julia Grabher in a quiet, boring, completely predictable straight sets match, but you would be completely, entirely, and dangerously wrong. Tennis scoreboards are professional liars. They are cold, heartless digital screens that deliberately hide the dark, violent reality of what actually happens on a professional tennis court. They hide the psychological torture. They hide the absolute suffocating panic. They hide the invisible anxiety that grips a player's chest. And most importantly, they hide the exact heartbreaking moment a veteran player's soul is completely and utterly crushed by a teenager. What happened today in the indoor stadium in Linz was not a normal tennis match. It was a psychological masterclass. It was a brutal, cold-blooded execution broadcast live to the world. And the weapon of choice wasn't a 90-mile-per-hour forehand. It wasn't a miraculous viral trick shot. It was pure, unadulterated mental warfare of the highest possible order. To understand the absolute massacre that took place today, you cannot just look at who won. You have to look far deeper into the dark data. You have to look at the hidden statistics that professional coaches use behind closed doors to measure a player's actual sanity and mental threshold. Let us start by looking closely at the two gladiators involved in this tragedy. Julia Grabher is not a rookie. She is not easily intimidated. She is a battle-hardened, blood-tested veteran of the European clay and indoor hard courts. She knows the gritty, dark, unforgiving reality of the professional tennis tour better than almost anyone. She has bled in the deepest trenches for years. She has fought her way through the grueling, financially devastating qualifying rounds. She knows exactly what it feels like to play a 3-hour match with blistered feet, aching lungs, and a completely broken spirit. She knows how to look across the net and smell fear in a younger, less experienced player. And directly across the net from her stands Eala, a teenager, a prodigy. But she is not just a normal prodigy. She is a player carrying the astronomical hopes, the crushing expectations, and the rabid obsession of an entire nation. The Philippines watches her every single move. Millions of passionate fans tune in just to watch her practice. For a seasoned veteran like Grabher, a player like Eala represents everything frustrating and terrifying about modern sports. The massive lucrative social media following, the endless global hype, the custom sponsorships handed out before you even win a major professional title. Grabher walked onto that indoor court absolutely determined to bully the teenager. She wanted to drag her into the deep water. She wanted to show her the violent, unforgiving reality of the veteran tour. She wanted to prove that social media followers cannot hit a backhand when the pressure is suffocating. But the indoor courts of Linz are different. The air is heavy. The sound of the ball echoes like a gunshot off the walls. It is a claustrophobic arena. There is no wind to blame your mistakes on. There is no sun in your eyes to use as an excuse. It is just you, your opponent, and the absolute deafening silence of the crowd between points. Let us look at the darkest, most terrifying, and most physically exhausting statistic on this entire board. Look at the ace count, 0. Eala hit exactly 0 aces in this entire match. Julia Grabher also hit exactly 0 aces. Think about what that actually means for a professional athlete's body. In modern power tennis, the serve is your absolute ultimate weapon. It is your ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. When you are drowning in pressure, when your legs are shaking, you hit a massive ace down the tee to save your own life. You buy yourself a cheap point. You buy yourself 30 seconds to breathe. But today, there were absolutely no free points. There was no easy escape hatch for either player. Every single point had to be violently fought for. They had to bleed for every single inch of the baseline. They had to engage in brutal, lung-burning, lactic acid-inducing rallies just to win a standard point. It was a literal fistfight inside a telephone booth. And in a match where nobody gets a free point, the player with the strongest mind always, inevitably, murders the player with the weakest mind. This brings us to the absolute nightmare, the core of the psychological trauma, the statistic that will literally haunt Julia Grabher for the rest of her natural life, the break points. In professional tennis, a break point is not just a chance to win a game. It is a moment of pure blinding terror. It is a high-wire act with absolutely no safety net. It is the moment the air completely leaves the stadium. It is the moment you have your hands wrapped tightly around your opponent's throat. All you have to do is squeeze. All you have to do is apply one more ounce of pressure, and they will collapse. Grabher did exactly what a veteran is supposed to do. She used her experience. She created 10 separate breakpoint opportunities. 10 distinct times. She had the teenager on the absolute brink of a total mental collapse. 10 times. She had the knife pressed directly against Eala's throat. She dominated the baseline rallies to get there. She pushed Eala into the absolute deepest, darkest corners of the court. She made the teenager gasp for air. She played perfect tactical tennis to get to 30-40. But this is exactly where the dark, terrifying secret of this match violently reveals itself. Out of those 10 golden, perfect, hard-fought breakpoint opportunities, how many did the veteran actually convert? One. Just one single pathetic break. Think about the profound, irreversible psychological damage of that dark reality. Put yourself in the veteran's mind. Imagine the complete devastation. You work tirelessly, grinding your joints to dust just to get the score to 30-40. You exhaust your lungs. You finally get the opening you have been praying for. The crowd goes completely dead silent. The ball bounces. You wait for the hyped teenager across the net to finally crack. You wait for the pressure to break her. You wait for the double fault. You wait for the nervous, unforced error into the net. But the error never comes. The crack never appears. Instead, the teenager across the net transforms into a terrifying, immovable, emotionless concrete wall. Eala saved 9 breakpoints. 9 separate times, she looked absolute disaster directly in the eyes, and she absolutely refused to blink. She refused to show an ounce of human fear. She completely refused to surrender. And remember the darkest part of this, she did this without hitting a single ace. She could not serve her way out of the nightmare. She had to stay inside the nightmare, look the monster in the face, and fight her way out with her bare hands. She had to engage in brutal, lung-burning rallies when the pressure was at its absolute most terrifying peak, and she won those rallies. She took the veteran's absolute best, most violent punch. She absorbed the impact. She smiled, and she hit the ball back harder. She slowly, methodically, and surgically completely destroyed Julia Grabher's mind point by point. Grabher slowly realized that no matter what she did, no matter how hard she fought to get a break point, the door would always be violently slammed in her face. It is a feeling of total, inescapable helplessness. Now, let us look at the other side of the dark equation. We look at what happened when the roles were finally reversed. What happened when Eala finally got her chances to strike? Did she choke? Did she hesitate? Eala did not need 10 desperate opportunities. She is a ruthless, cold-blooded assassin. She only had 7 breakpoint chances the entire match, and she violently, immediately converted 3 of them. That is the exact terrifying difference between a good professional tennis player and a generational killer. Grabher needed 10 desperate, exhausting chances just to get one single break of serve. Eala took 3 breaks out of only 7 chances. It is surgical. It is violent, terrifying efficiency. When Eala smelled a single drop of blood in the water, she didn't hesitate for a microsecond. She didn't let the veteran off the hook to breathe. She stepped directly inside the baseline. She took the ball early, and she violently took Grabher's soul. To understand the mechanics of this collapse, look at the serving percentages. This is where you see the actual invisible panic setting into the veteran's muscles. Grabher only landed 55% of her first serves. When you are playing a ruthless teenager who feeds on weakness, missing nearly half of your first serves is a total death sentence. You are constantly living on the absolute edge of a cliff. You are constantly on the defensive. Eala was slightly better at 60%, keeping the pressure steady, but the real horror story, the statistic that causes coaches to lose their jobs, is the second serve percentage. When a professional player misses their first serve, a primal panic instantly sets in. The second serve is where true cowards are always exposed. Grabher only won 57% of her second serve points. She was terrified of hitting it out. She was terrified of double faulting. She was pushing the ball into the box, completely paralyzed by fear, just praying Eala would make a mistake. Eala smelled that fear radiating across the net. Eala attacked her second serve with absolute ruthless punishing aggression. But look at the absolute absurdity of Eala's statistics when Eala missed her first serve, when the teenager was supposed to be completely vulnerable, when she was supposed to be the one panicking. She won 63% of her second serve points. Even when she was vulnerable, even when she was supposed to be on defense, she was completely dictating the terrifying reality of the match. She was looking at the veteran and saying, even my backup plan is absolutely better than your best weapon. Even when I make a mistake, I will still break you. Look at the momentum shifts on the board. Both players had a maximum of 5 consecutive points won. The momentum was violently swinging back and forth like a pendulum. It was an absolute dogfight in the deepest, muddiest trenches of the sport. Nobody was running away with the match easily. It was a grueling, physical, exhausting war of attrition. Every single game was a battle for survival. But the total points won tells the final tragic story of the veteran's complete demise. Grabher won 65 points. Eala won 76, an 11-point difference. On paper, it sounds small, it sounds insignificant, but tennis is a cruel sport. It is not about how many total points you win, it is about exactly which points you win. Eala won the points that matter. She won the points that destroyed her opponent's absolute will to live. She won the points that completely broke the veteran's spirit. She won the break points. She won the deuce points. She won the points that made Julia Grabher's racket feel like it weighed a massive 100 pounds by the middle of the second set. The entire WTA locker room is watching this terrifying result. The veterans on the tour, the players who have been gatekeeping the top rankings for years, are completely terrified. They are looking at this dark data and they are realizing a very dangerous, unavoidable truth. Eala is not just a hyped-up prodigy with a massive lucrative social media following. She is not just a corporate marketing tool designed to sell shoes to the Asian market. She is a total, absolute mental monster. If you can put her in massive danger 10 separate times and she violently survives 9 of them without hitting a single ace to save herself, how on earth do you beat her? How do you break a player who actually genuinely enjoys the suffocating pressure? How do you intimidate someone who looks at a terrifying breakpoint, not as a threat, but as a fun competitive challenge? You can't out-hit her, you clearly can't outthink her, and you absolutely cannot outsuffer her. Julia Grabher walked onto the indoor court in LINZ, absolutely expecting to teach a hyped teenager a brutal lesson about veteran grit. She wanted to show her that viral TikToks and custom Nike dresses do not win professional tennis matches in the cold arenas of Europe. Instead, Grabher became a permanent tragic victim in Eala's violent highlight reel. She was locked tightly inside a psychological torture chamber for 2 straight sets, forced to watch a teenager dismantle her entire career's worth of experience, point by point. The history books will just show a simple, boring, straight sets win, but the raw data shows a complete massacre. The data shows the exact, precise moment the torch was violently ripped from the hands of the old guard. The era of the veterans safely bullying the youth is officially over. A new terrifying predator has entered the waters. She does not panic, she does not miss her targets, and she is starving for more. Now I want to hear your absolute, unfiltered voice. Look at these insane, terrifying statistics right now. Look at the 9 breakpoints miraculously saved. Look at the 0 aces. Is Eala the most mentally terrifying teenager on the entire WTA tour right now? Can anyone on earth actually break her serve when the pressure is at its absolute highest peak? Or is this just the terrifying beginning of a massive, unstoppable reign of terror that will completely destroy the current hierarchy of women's tennis forever? Drop your most aggressive, unfiltered predictions and thoughts down in the comments right now. I read every single one of them. The debate is getting completely explosive, and you absolutely need to be a part of it. And if you want the real, raw, unfiltered truth behind the biggest, darkest statistical anomalies in the entire sports world, if you want the insane, hidden psychological stories the mainstream sports media is entirely too blind and too cowardly to see, hit that subscribe button immediately. Turn on those notifications right now. We are just getting started on this journey, and you will absolutely not believe the massive, explosive, dark breakdown we are dropping next.